This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, so you guys don't have any query, maybe we can jump to the different function of category and let's start the session for today. All right, so we're gonna check the convergent functions. So we do have still a lot of category of functions here. So far, we
So
covered.
voice is very slow, I think, sir. I can hear voice slow. Everybody voice is okay? In my Monica, Richard?
Is it good?
Sir, it's clear, sir.
All right,
Okay, right.
cool. So, so last class, right? We covered many functions. So we covered array so far, and we covered date and time functions, and we covered the text functions, right? So today we'll go and cover the conversion functions, right? So conversion functions, what does it do? It converts the one data type value to the other. I mean, that's a very simple definition, and that's what it does. So, so here you see, okay, let me start with this. So let's start with this two Boolean functions. So two Boolean function, what it does, it converts a value to a Boolean. So anyone can tell me what is Boolean?
It's true or false.
All right, that's great. So yeah, so what this function does is it converts your specified value to a true or false. I mean, see, all this functions category, what it does, it converts a value. I mean, we are changing a type, a data type to a different one. So let's say take a case where I'm passing a text as in a T or anything. It gives me, this will give as a true or false if you convert to this. So in computing language, in programming language, 1 and 0, I mean the combinations of 1 and 0, right? So 1 means true, whereas 0 means false. So if you convert the value into this, I mean 2 boolean to 0, 0 and 2 boolean. So this gave us a false. So whatever value we have as integer 0, integer means 0 means always false, 1 means always true, and that 0 we converting into a boolean. So that's how it converts a data type, because we are passing 0, which is integer, and it gives a type called boolean. So it converts 0 into its boolean value and give us the result. So if I give 1 here, this gave you true. And same 2 boolean you can pass in an array as well. I mean, this value you see here, I mean the syntax, it says any type. Any type means any type value you can pass into this. There's no limitations on that. I mean the single value, the multiple values and all we can pass into this. So let me just copy paste this. All right. So here we have as an array, which is 0, 1 and 0. And here is the output. 0 is false, 1 is true, and again 0 is false. Okay, any questions?
No, sir.
All right. So we'll jump to the other function. Let's jump to date. All right. So converts a value to date with time zone. So anything we pass to this, it converts the particular value with the date time zone. So with the example, what we are seeing here, these are the examples, right? To date, we are passing 0 and we are converting into to date, and it give us the value which is 1/1/2035. That's what the 0 means. If you change this value, it gives 1 2. So this will be increment by 1 if you change the numbers. So I've changed the number, I give 22. It convert value 22 into date and time. So this is not only okay, so this is giving date with time zone. My bad, it's not with time, it will give with time zone. All right. So okay, why I haven't gone through all this? Because I will directly tell you. What? Why do we use these functions? Okay. Why do we use the conversion functions? So let's take a case where I have done some manipulations over the data. And
Sir,
yeah,
sir,
yes,
but how is it showing like 2035, the year I was talking about?
right. So yeah, that's what the value of 0 is. See, we are not specifying anything. So that's how it's taking the value. If you're converting 0, so the 0 has some sort of value in terms of this Appian. So we haven't defined anything yet. This is already predefined stuff. So we are not passing any year, or we are not passing anything. This is already predefined by Appian. If you get the value 0 and we try to convert into to date, then this is what we need to give. If I pass 55, it's taking the same year. So what I was telling you by example is, here also you see notes they have mentioned for number inputs, the value must reference a number of days before or after January 1st and 21st 2035, which is the beginning of Appian era. See, you see this, right? So your answer is
Yes, sir.
here. Yeah, so it
Okay,
lies
got
here.
it, sir. Yeah.
Hmm. So yeah, I was explaining you why do we use all these conversion functions. Okay, so whenever you go and use these functions actually into your logic, you are not going to pass any of the integer value to this function. That's the first thing. And then the reason is why, because passing this does not make any sense, right? Because you don't want value of 2035. We are into 2020, and maybe if you want a future value, that would be 2021 or 22, maybe max, not more than that. So either we deal in past or future and or present. So the scope of all these functions is, you already have predefined value which was in our text, and that is the same format. If I give this, so if I give 1 2020, so I'm giving this into a text. If you see this, and I'm trying to convert this, so this has converted my value. See, the value is still same. This is what I have give, this is what it is, but you see the type got changed to date with time zone. We have passed it as a text. I mean, the date string was a text field, because anything you define into double quotes is by default considered as a text. And then that text we are converting into toDate. So that's what it does. It has converted the value into this and gave us the date with time zone. So this is how we are gonna use this type of functions. I mean, where you have already got the answer. I mean, let's consider this is your answer, but you want this answer to be dated date type of answer. So you just convert the value to date, it will give you the result. And one more thing, why we need to convert this I'll give this second reason would be, let's take a case where output of one data, I mean output of your one expression rule. Forget about the term expression rule, but just consider expression rule is a code. So output of a one code is the input of the other code. Okay, you got my statement? Output of one code. So let's take a case. This is your one code. Let's assume you have written this. Okay, here is the output. And this output you need to pass into some other code, which is nothing but the same. For now, consider nothing but the same. And let's say this input, right? Output of this, output of your first statement become input for the other statement. And the other statement, what type of value this other statement is expecting? If this value, if this expression is expecting a date, and you are not getting a date, you are getting a string. So you need to convert it and pass the relevant value. What does it expect? So the conclusion is, any expression and all, here also you see, right? This is toDate functions, and everywhere, all the functions we have gone so far, they have defined the data type. What data type it wants, either it is integer, as a text, as an array, or any type, right? So here it takes any type, it's okay, you can pass it. But somewhere, some of the functions you have no, right, that they only expect as in integer. And if you pass the text value, it will fail. So this how all these conversions come into picture. So it will help you to convert the value into specified data type so that you won't get any error. Because if something needs to be integer, it should be integer, it should not be a text. So you guys can go through the notes and all. There's nothing but these some more informations. I mean, what it does and all. So we covered this to Boolean, toDate, toDate and time. So I'll not waste much of the time to this. If you guys don't understand any of the this function, just raise your hand. I'll repeat it one more time. Okay. So so toDate we already understood. It converts our value into a date with time zone data type. And here is the toDate and time functions. What it does, it's convert a value to a date and time. By functions already it saves. So okay, and then what it does, it has any type value to convert. Into this example, see, they are not passing 0 to this. Okay, so let's see why they are not passing 0 of this. What will it return? See, it has written the same thing. I mean, not same thing. What I was saying is the date. It's still the same because Appian calendar starts from 2035. So 1/1/1/2035, 12 GMT. So what it does, a earlier function was only returning as the date. Here it returns as the date and time. So date is already there, time, and your time zone, which is GMT. So this is what it does. So your date was date will convert your input to a date, whereas date and time will include your date along with time zone. So anytime when you go and use these functions, you have to be very careful with the syntax. So you need to understand what are the syntax and what type of value does it takes. So whenever you go and whenever I ask you to go through or to refer some functions, feel free to refer the notes also. This will help you to understand more about the functions into details. All right. So two decimal is again, but the same thing. You can understand two decimal. So we are just converting a decimal value, which is of type anything. I mean, which is not type of decimal. So here, double quotes 3.6. So 3.6 is here we are defining as in text because those are into the double quotes. And when you convert to this, it will give you number of type decimal. So again, we have converted a data type into decimal. That's what it does. And one more thing for you guys is, see here the notes. See, when operating on arrays, all right, when operating on arrays means multiple values, it is not necessary to use apply with two decimal. If multiple parameters are passed or one parameter is an array, to decimal will return a decimal array. Right. So what does it mean? Uh, you guys need to just ignore the apply. It means it's like even though, see, some of the functions which we have understood in past, if you pass them multiple value, it won't work. All right. But this type of functions, I mean the convergent functions, most of them they will work if you pass the multiple values into this. Let's see what it does. See, it gave you the value 3.6, 5.5 with semicolon as in separations. So what it does is like earlier all the functions what we have learned so far, they won't work if you type the multiple values into it because they just need a single value for them to work. So you guys understood looping functions, right? What is loop? Can anyone define this? Anyone knows what is loop? Okay, I consider the silence as a no. So loop is kind of a loop is an expression. I mean anything you want to repeat. So let's take a case where let's take a case for you guys. I mean we have 4 students, right? You, Rachel, Monica, Chinmay, Vidya, right? So what I need to do is I need to perform some sort of manipulations on your names. So I want to eliminate the first character out of all of your 4 names. So let's take a case where I just write a logic. I mean some sort of split, anything. Okay. Just I'm not actually writing a logic, but I'm just mentioning just for you guys. Okay. So let's assume that this is the code. You guys are listening, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's assume that this is the code which will eliminates the first character from the data. I mean from you guys names. So what I need to do is like I need to perform this code to all of your names, right? Not only on one name. So into that case, in this type of scenario where this, my logic needs to be worked for Vidya, for Chinmay, for Rachel, for Monica, for all of you. So if this type of logic will needs to be done or performed, we use apply function. Apply function is the loop. What it does, it will pick one data. I mean, your names are nothing but the data. So it will pick Monica and it will perform my expression and it will eliminate the name. I mean the character M, and it will store value into its own. And then it will pick the other name, remove the character, store, pick the third name, remove the character, store. So it will perform this expression for each one of data what I have. So that is what apply. And apply is kind of a loop which we have in other programming languages. Those are the looping functions where, if else, for each, and these are all the different type of loops. So at very high level, there is something is repetitive task which will perform into a loop because of your data. That is the apply. I mean that is the loop. So we'll explore this in detail in future. This is just a heads up for you guys because I see this term, so I thought I'll explain you. So yeah, so for this functions, whatever we are learning, coming to this, the convergence functions. So convergent functions does not require this apply looping because it's by default give you the result. I mean, you're passing multiple values, it is performing. So we will never use like two decimal, two date and time, all these convergence functions into apply, only to convert your specified data. So instead of your name, let's take you have 5 dates in text, and then you want to convert all 5 days, which is type text, into type date. So you can directly pass the value. You don't need to use apply, pass this to date functions, and pass your data. I mean as an input, right? So this is not needed in apply. Apply this day functions takes care by default for this type. Yeah, any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So this is again but the to document. So what is to document function? To document function is it will convert your integer value into document type. So what is document type? Document type is nothing but the document we stores in Appian. So whenever you go and submit some form, right, it will ask you to upload your profile picture. It will ask you to upload some document which it wants to verify. I mean anything which you upload is a document, right? Is a data. So that's what it does. Document means anything which we are uploading through file upload. It stores as type of document type. So we don't need to, and okay, the value parameter accept text, integer, decimal, array type. Okay. When operating an array, it is not necessary to use apply with two documents. See, that's what they have said again for these functions. When operating on arrays, I mean, if there is multiple value, we don't need to use apply. This by default takes care. If multiple, it's the same line. Only the function name is different. So here what we are doing is we are passing two document to one. This will convert the value, say document and then one. Alright, so that's how any document type of value looks like. So you don't need to worry about why we are passing one, why we are passing two, and all those. So we are just passing because these are all the dummies value. Just to give you a brief view about what type of data does it convert. So this is a document. You passed one, it converted the value like this. See your this braces and then it has written document here with colon 1. So this is the output. So you pass anything, you pass 36, 37, it will does the same thing. Here is the example. If you can see this. Alright. See, here is an example. You see this? To document of 37 returns 37. I mean, it just convert whatever value you pass. This is dummy value. It has no meaning, but it's okay. So when you start working on some of this, definitely have some sort of values. And the only reason why we use all this is we just want that any expression, whatever data type it is expecting, we should pass that. So if your any expression has a type as document, whereas 37 is an integer, so you just convert into to document and pass it to it because it is expecting document type. You cannot pass a function which is expecting a document type or integer value. It will give you the error. So all these things will come into the picture only when these are again, that's very important. Okay, this all functions are really important when we will start work on this. So hey, is Prakash is there? Prakash? Okay, I guess he's away. So anyways, yeah, so this is what the to document, and again they have taken this to document into an array. See, and it does not make any sense, right? You see this to document, we are not, this is array, right? 37 comma 38. We have seen that in earlier we were passing as in this braces into array and all. So this treat both thing as in same. See this 37 38 and this braces 37 38 will return document 37 document 38. That's the same thing. All right. So to email address converts a value to an email address. This is email address. This is value which is any type. What it will return? It will return email addresses. That's is the data type again. So note can converts an email address text. When operating on arrays, it not does the same thing. The output can be converted to a value with the email recipient type for use in to CC BCC field in the setup tab and send email smart service. So forget about these lines. I mean the output can be converted to a value with an email recipient type. So here is the to email address and this is your text. Alright. So they have used here character 64. It will give you the email address. So what it's doing, it's just converting your text. You see this is the text. And when you execute this, it will give you the type text and you want this to be an email address because the output of this you will pass to this send email smart service. Let's say you want to send an email to your business. So definitely it should be an email address, right? To whom we are sending an email. It should not be a text. It won't work. So you have the hard-coded email address with you, but you need to convert into two email address. So you will convert like this, and this complete thing you will pass to this. This is again predefined code written by Appian for us, and we need to pass this value to this. This could be anything. You can have your own email addresses. So if you want to send an email to yourself, you need to enter an email, right? So we are just converting a text into email so that the value can be used further. So you guys be thinking like what is the characters, right? So character 64 is 1 second. You see this character value of 64 is this at the rate. Do you guys know what is ASCII values? Anyone?
No, sir.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
See, this is the ASCII table. ASCII-TABLE. What is ASCII table? This is nothing but a table developed long time back, and this table is common to all the programming language. And this table has no relation with anything else. The only thing is what the integer value represents. Because you know, right, what computer understands? Computer only understands 0, 1. That's, you guys know this, right? Computer does not understand any of the text. So anything you write, your compiler or the programming. So we don't have any compiler here, but in Java and all, right, when you go and check the Java, what it does, like any code you write, it compiles that and then it converts that code into the 0 and 1 combinations. That's how the computer understands. Computer only understands 0, 1. So this is the meaning of all this integers values. If I start from this, see this all 31, 0 means null, 1 means start of heading. So this is the ASCII table. You can refer this table anytime if you want this information. So here to one of our example, we were using character 64, right? And it gave us the other end. So this is why I was showing you, because this is from the values is coming. See, 64 is character at the rate. If I give 65, it will give me capital A. If I give 101, 101, it will give you small e. So this is what the value was already predefined long back, and any of the programming language, if they are using the ASCII table, this is where the value is coming. So any character you type is 101, it will give you the E, small e. See, so this value refers the ASCII table, and then we don't need this. If you want E, you can directly go and type E. There's nothing why we want the ASCII values. So it's just a table in case if we are referring this. So you type the hardcore D, it will give you the hardcore D. So you understood, right, what is ASCII tables and how the character 64 work.
Yes, sir, I got it.
Okay. So here they were using character 64. What if I could see, I don't need this. It just, we are just explaining to you. I mean, that's how they are explaining. So let's see. I can do this expression without using character 64. Okay. So what is this? Whole 142@gmail.com. Let's see, this should give you the error, right? See, could not find the variable this. They need a text. See, what is this? This is a text, right? And how do we define text? We define text in double quotes. We are not defining text like this. Forgot about this. You see this? It gave me the email address. And they, in your example, they were using character 64. We are directly using @ and it gave you the element value. So it just converted into email address. We do have one more type, email recipients. So what is email recipients and to email address? Because output of both of them we can use in 2CC or BCC field. Alright, so the only difference between to email address and to email recipients is, see, to email address is what the single value, right? Single value means my email address. So that's the only email address of one person. Because if you go to the organizations, we are sending an email to a group. We don't send an email to individual persons. So whenever you go and raise any sort of support case to HP, for example, HP. So HP email address they have already mentioned, hp@support.com, something like this. So by any chance, do you see any sort of name on that email? No, right? That's the group. I mean, that's an email address, obviously. But that email address will be containing around 5, 10, 15, 20 different email addresses. So when you target any email to those that support, by default 20 or 30% will receive an email. So that's the type of a group in terms of emails. So anything, I mean, if you know what are the groups and all, so what it does, it just converts the value into two email recipients. So that's what this mean is. So if you convert into two email recipients, this will work in all the case also. Even if you have a single value, all right, it should work. Doesn't matter. Let's say r@g.com. It gave me r@g.com with email recipient. Okay. So the only difference I told you what is the difference between email recipients and email addresses are, and this is the only data type difference because we are converting into email recipient. And they give us with the example also because this is two email recipients, right? So they are converting into two group of one. So let's say this is a group of HP support and this is the value of that support. So they are converting into two group, and that the entire group converting into two email recipient. So let's say if there are 5 members into the group, all the 5 member email addresses has been converted to two email recipient, and that's how they will work. So the only difference is multiple people, I mean the entire recipients, and then a single dedicated email address. That's the difference. But both of them you can use into 2CC and BCC of your smart service to whom you want to send the email addresses. All right. So again, this is straightforward. We have seen that toDocument function, right? toDocument function was giving us the 40%. All right. So toDocument function, also we are passing the integers, and it gave us like document and then our value. So the syntax for folder also is same. We are passing the multiple value into this and it will convert into folder type. Earlier we have seen the document type and this is a folder type. So why they are passing the value? Any folder we create, right? And those folder, why do we create folders? To store document, obviously. So any folder we create, it has its own identifications, right? There should be some sort of IDs for folders. So let's see that I have created a folder named Rahul. See, Rahul is the name, but it should have some ID, and the ID is 5. So if in future you go and create any folders, any document, anything, everything will have its own ID that will be the identifications for them, and that will be unique for each of them. So that's why they are using this integers value, because these are the actual IDs of folders. So if you convert ID of the folder to folder, it will definitely convert because it has a value specified into your folder hierarchy. So just forget about this value. This is a random value, but when we go and work onto this stuff, it will have a meaning. Okay. So this is what the two folder just convert into two folder. To integer will convert obviously into an integer value. You again pass a string. We have passed a string 3 and we want to convert into to integer. See it convert into to string. So these are the functions, very straightforward to understand. I mean, there's not much of logic to write into. The only thing is you can pass the single value, you can pass the multiple values. Alright, two intervals, IDs, two intervals. Okay, convert a value to interval date, day to seconds. Alright, so it converts into 2 seconds intervals, day to seconds. The duration data type is not available for storing activity class or process variable is useful for reporting process and task metrics. The value parameter except integer, decimal, text, fix, boolean, this, multiple parameter returns an interval, date, array. Right. Alright, so it's just appending a value. Let's this functions anyway we are not going to use. Okay, so let me wrap up this fast. What it does, it's convert your this value, whatever we are specifying here, into this type, into type intervals, which means days to seconds. So whatever we pass, it will finally convert into 2 seconds, and it takes a value like this. Your 66, 22, 11. All these things will be append. That will be your first, and this is the formats. I mean the formats of your seconds. That's how we give, right? Hours, days, hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds. So this is your day and this is your define. I mean, let's ignore this. This is not required for it because I have never used in this in last 5 years. So as I told you when beginning also, there are many functions. but half of the functions will not even use. So there will be some specific functions which is needed all the time. So I'll cover only those functions which will be needed for you guys all the time. To knowledge center, you won't understand what is knowledge center now, but let me explain you theoretically. So what is a knowledge center? So knowledge center in Appian is it's a kind of a parent folder which contains all the subfolders for you. So any folders you have created, if you go and check the parent of it, it will be a knowledge center. That is into a very short definitions. So let's see, you want to create a folder. If you need to create a folder, it should be part of some knowledge center. That's how the knowledge center comes. It will have all the relevant folders. All right. So, and what we are doing here again, as I told you that folders have its own unique ID. Similarly, document will also have its own ID. Whereas knowledge center, anything in Appian has its own ID. So knowledge center has its own ID, and that ID we are converting into two knowledge center, just like what we did for two document, two folders. And the same thing we are doing it for two knowledge center. This we are passing its knowledge center ID and we are converting into. So this data type it gave us. If you check this here, we have passed string 2, it gave us this. Alright. So two knowledge center we covered, two string, two uniform string. Okay. Converts a value to text. If an array is passed in, that value to be concatenated to form one string to preserve the original array structure using uniform string. See, if I pass here as an array, let's see what happens. Okay, you guys getting right all these functions?
Yes, sir. Following.
Okay. See, here is the difference between, the other one remaining functions. Here is the difference between, see, there are two functions, two string, and the other one is two uniform string, right? So we are learning now two string function. Two string has a value which is again any type of value. Right. Let's see the notes. Argument after the first are ignored. Value that holds a number decimal data type are displayed using 7 digit of precisions. When cast to a string to a plain text, the function returns the text when passed on. Function returns a null text when passed a null value. See this? And let's pass a null value. Okay. See, we passed null. It gave us null. Okay. Let's pass this. Again, it gives nulls. Okay. This sign would represent what? This sign represent an array, right? Whenever we do pass, and we are passing an empty array. This is what we are passing. Let's pass 22 into this two string. It gave us 22. So 22 integer, it has converted into what type? Text. That's what it's saying. To a string. I told you earlier also that string means text. So this we are converting into two text. Let's see multiple value passing to this. 22, 44, 55. All right. So here what they have written is, if you want to, earlier they have already mentioned, if you read the notes for the other functions, what they were saying is, if you want to use this functions, there's no need of using the function to apply because it's by default takes care of multiple. What Appian is recommending us, do not use the apply with toString. They are saying that do not use the looping functionality with these functions. Instead, use this toUniform string. So let's see what is toUniform string. For this example, let's eliminate that I'm not passing an array. I'm passing 22, 23, 44, 55. If you are able to remember that passing like this was same if we are passing with curly braces, it was giving us the same output. If we consider two document or anything we consider, everything was same. Let's see what will give output for this. See, it just gave us 22. Rest of them are ignored. That's the reason they're asking us that do not use apply with toString, instead use toUniform string, because this will not work. If I just convert into toUniform string, here is the value 22, 23, 44, 55. It gave you the list of text string because this is an array, right? Okay, so the difference between toString and toUniform string is, toString, when you passed an array, it have taken the first parameters and ignore rest of them. Here also they have written, see, argument after the first are ignored. So that's what it is. The argument after 22, whatever you have specified was ignored. And that is the difference between toString and toUniform string is, toUniform string will try to maintain your specified structure. See, converts a value to a text. I mean any value what you pass, convert to a text, preserving the original scalar or array structure. Preserving your array structure. This was not preserving our array structure, toString. When we have seen, it was just giving 22. But when we are using this is our array structure, right? 22, 23, 24, 25. And when you pass to this, it preserves our structure, right? So that is the difference between uniform string and string, toString. And they have mentioned here the same thing because it takes care of your multiple values, right? We have passed here multiple values, so there's no need of using apply. That's what. When operating on array, it's not necessary to use apply with toUniform string. If multiple parameters are passed or one parameter is an array, then array of text is written. So we don't need to do anything. I mean, you just take this functions takes care of the everything. So here is the input. What do you see here? If you see this is multiple value, right? This is the first parameter, comma, second parameter, which is IL, Illinois. And you see here, we don't have multiple values to be entered for the syntax. There's only one value, and this value could be any type, right? So that's how it works. This is the first, second, and it will make a string. But while making a string, it has preserved your actual values because you have passed comma in between. That's what it has does. See, semicolon. It still has a separation. IL. It didn't concatenate into one. Ideally, right? That is the difference between. It gave you the list of toString. Let's see if I pass this into toString, what will be the value? You guys see this? It has ignored the second parameter, IL. That's what it has done for our numbers values, right? So that is the difference. Your toString will only work when you have single value. If you want to use some multiple values to be converted, use toUniform string. Two time functions is you are just converting your specified value into two time. This is the time. Earlier, you know, right, we have covered date. You see this? We have covered date, and then we covered date and time. This was only date. This is completely, this was date and time zone was anyway, it was coming for both of them. Now we are just doing two time. So this is only about time. It's not about date. So two time, you define anything. I mean, let's see if we define 0, what the output it gives to us. See, I'm doing two date and time. What value it gives to us? You see this. When I'm doing it to date and time. See, I'm what I'm doing is I'm clarifying your doubt. Before you ask, I'm showing it what is happening. So to date and time, when you did 0, and you already know that Appian takes calendar of 2035, you got the date and time, the time zone. You got the time also, which is 12 a.m. and this is your time zone. And we are just doing with two time of 0. It gives you 12 a.m. Same thing, which is written when we are doing it to date and time. To date and time also give it the same 12 a.m. time zone. So this is the starting time, what it gives. So 0 will give you this. Let's see 1. What does it give? That's the same thing. See, okay. Because this does not has any value. By default is 12 a.m. And when we use this 2 time, so we'll not definitely use to convert 4 into 2 time. We'll use some good examples, right? So if you want to use this, we also have functions called time. You see this? Time. That's how you can create your own time, which is hour, minute, and seconds. And milliseconds is again optional if you want to use it. So let me create it. I mean, I have time. Okay. I have a time which I need to convert again into two time. Hours, minutes, and seconds, right? 22 hours, 34 minutes, and second, which is 45. Let's see what value it does gives to us. You see this? 22 hours is what? 10 o'clock, 34 minutes, and the seconds. If I give milliseconds, milliseconds it won't show into time because by default time does not has milliseconds for them to show. That's why it's optional. There's no difference if you enter into this or not. So by default, this is your time functions, and this is what it needs to be converted. And give you the data and see. And what we are learning here, see, if I convert time again into two time, will it make any difference? Guys, will it make any difference?
No, sir.
Yes. So it won't make any difference because anyway, your specified value, I mean, the output of this is time, and then again you're converting into two time. So that's the same thing will happen. See, the type is still time because output of time, what data type it's give? It's give the time only. Time of time will be time. There's nothing to do. So that's what we are doing here. Alright. So what we are doing here, we have a value which is date and time. This is not time. Earlier we just had a time. This is date and time. Let me execute this for you first. Let me eliminate this. Okay. Let me execute this. You see, it gave me the date and time. Now I just want my data with time. I don't need date. What will I do with it? So you just do this. Convert into time. To time. It gave you the time. See? And also type got changed from date. So that's how it works. It's like you have a different data type, you have, and you need to convert into this time. So this all conversions are needed for those. So we completed conversions into this. I mean, few of them are left, which is externalize, internalize. We don't use all this display value, but I'll ask you to go through this and come up tomorrow if you have any questions. Only these three functions left: display, externalize, and internalize. So you should have idea about all the functions, even though if you use it or not. What if in future you want to use it? I mean, you should know, right, what functions you do have. So just go through this and just know about all this and come up tomorrow if you have any questions. All right?
Sir, you were just saying that.
Give me a minute, sir.
Mhm.
Um,
Maybe you're saying something.
Uh, so actually, I wanted to ask you, like, because like you're saying, you will give some assignment or something for us to, do. So when are you giving that thing?
Okay, for assignment is I'm still waiting for your access. I mean, you don't have access yet to the environments. If I give you assignment, you won't able to do it because you don't have a place where you can go and complete it. So I'm still
Okay,
waiting.
so how long would that take
Yeah, that if
for the server or for that?
yeah, that if you can check with Prakash, right? Because Prakash is doing that activity for you guys. So I was checking with him yesterday also. He has not updated me with anything. Maybe after this call, you just guys feel free to ask him what is the progress on that. Maybe if he can update. Ideally, it takes 2 to 3 days to come up with access. Maybe because of this Saturday, Sundays. It's a non-working days for Appian also, so you won't have the access even on those days. And maybe today, if they will start in a day or two, you will have the access. Even I also check with Prakash. Feel free to just ping him and talk about it.
Yeah, sir, sure. I will talk to you about it.
Alright? Okay. Okay, guys. So that's it for today. I mean, that's the end of the thing. And just go through the remaining three functions and come up tomorrow if you have any query.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thanks.
Yeah.